Hello and welcome to Top10List.org, where you get a world of knowledge in 10 simple points. Today's episode, we're going to talk about modern classic novels. At number 10, we have Oliver Twist, which was written by Charles Dickens and published in 1838. The story is about an orphan, Oliver Twist, who endures a miserable existence in a workhouse and then is placed with an undertaker. He escapes and travels to London, where he meets the Artful Dodger, a leader of a gang of juvenile pickpockets. Naively unaware of their unlawful activities, Oliver is led to the lair of their elderly criminal trainer, Fagin. In this famous novel, Dickens mocks the hypocrisies of his time by surrounding the novel's serious themes with sarcasm and dark humor. It is said that Oliver Twist is a biographical novel based on Dickens' own early youth as a child laborer. At number 9, we have The Good Earth. Another great novel of the 20th century is The Good Earth, written by Pearl S. Buck. The author of this book also won the Nobel Prize in 1938. This book is considered one of the greatest classic novels of the last century. The novel depicts the family life of farmer Wang Lung and his family in a small Chinese village. The story begins with Wang Lung's wedding and follows the rise and fall in his fortunes, right from a poor farmer to becoming a landowner, and then again sinking into poverty due to the wasteful ways of his family members at the end of the novel. The novel depicts very beautifully the social and economic life in Chinese villages in the first quarter of the 20th century. Number 8 is Of Human Bondage. This book was written by Somerset Maugham and is another all-time classic. Although denied by the author, this novel is an autobiographical book in its nature. The protagonist of the novel, Philip Carey, is born with a club foot and becomes orphaned in the life at a very early age. He is taken under the guidance of his uncle. The novel depicts the trials and tribulations of Philip Carey and the problems he has to face in life because of his club foot. He tries his hand at several vocations but gives up in between. Then he takes up medical studies but is not able to complete the course due to financial reasons. In the meantime, he also falls in love with several women, but here also he is unsuccessful. At last, after the death of his uncle and the fortune he inherits, he is now able to complete his medical education. At number 7 is A Sea of Poppies, written by Amitav Ghosh. This encapsulates DT and Kahlua as indentured laborers from a small town of Ghazipur, India. This is based on the theme of enslaved laborers supplied to different parts of the world for the purpose of farming poppy flowers. During that time, a lot of Indians, some by their wish and others forcefully, were sent to neighboring Indian parts as laborers. With no other option left, they settled there, but few of them returned to trace their childhood footprints and descendants. Number 6 is Roots, an outstanding chronicle which derives its subject and theme from its very title. In this modern classic, Alex Haley has captured the pitying condition of slaves who had been transferred from Africa to other white parts across the globe. This is a story of a teenage boy, Kunta Kinte, who is secretly captured from a village of Africa and sent to a foreign land. Alex Haley is the descendant of Kunta Kinte, and he, at the very end of the story, finds his roots through wide traveling and extensive paper research. Number 5 is Wuthering Heights. Another classic novel which I like very much is Wuthering Heights, written by Emily Bronte. The story is basically of revenge, and it follows the life of Heathcliff, a mysteriously and shabbily dressed person, from childhood to about 7 years old to his death in his late 30s. Heathcliff rises in his adopted family with other children of his patron, but when he grows up he faces discrimination and is then reduced to the status of a servant. He falls in love with a young woman of his patron, but when the young woman he loves decides to marry another person, he runs away from home. He returns later, rich and educated, and sets about gaining his revenge on the two families that he believed ruined his life. Number 4 is Pride and Prejudice. Jane Austen's one of the most legendary and excellent works encircles Mr. and Mrs. Bennet's 5 daughters. Being most rational and wise, she helps her father with his accounts. Two rich friends, Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy, visit their township and fall for Jane and Elizabeth correspondingly. However, the situation gets messed up that eventually encounters an unpredictable climax. The author has described London quite well with its etiquette, carts, women drapes, and its fine architecture. Number 3 is Animal Farm. Animal Farm is written by the famous British author George Orwell. Orwell is a satire on the communist system of governance which was prevalent in Russia and its neighboring countries. The communist system was repressive and believed in total subservience of the people to the government. In the novel, the author has visualized an animal farm in which all kinds of animals are living, and the head of this animal kingdom is a pig. Intellectually, he is elected democratically by the animals and also functions in a democratic way. but gradually his style of functioning becomes dictatorial. With the help of his core team of advisors, he starts bending laws to suit him and his cronies. Existing laws are given new meaning, which can help in consolidating the stronghold of the regime on his people. The regime becomes repressive, and all those animals opposing it are either killed or jailed. Although elections are held at regular intervals, they are rigged in favor of the ruling party. The inhabitants of the farm are not allowed to mix with the animals in neighboring farms lest they are poisoned by them with slogans like democracy, freedom of speech, and human rights. In short, Animal Farm is a very beautiful satire on authoritative communist regimes of its time, but the story is still relevant in today's history also. Number 2 is A Passage to India, another immaculate literacy work by E.M. Forster, circumscribing India under the rule of British Raj and featuring independence movements. It circles a deep, authentic friendship of an Indian, Dr. Mr. Aziz, and a British Mr. Fielding. A plot based on how a trip to Marabar cave lands Dr. Aziz into troublesome situations when a British friend, Adela, blames him of assault. However, the trials proved him to be innocent. This is a perfect conglomeration of culture, tradition, customs, religion, and differences between Indian and British under the name of prejudice and discrimination. Number 1 is Gone with the Wind, an ultimate classic of Margaret Mitchell that depicts a picturesque of love, revenge, slavery, freedom, and a dispute between North America and South America under the able governance of Abraham Lincoln. A girl, Scarlett O'Hara, blind and vindictive, who is in love with a patriot named Ashley who is ready to die for his country. A lover, Rhett Butler, who sacrifices the whole lot to get Scarlett back into his life, and an innocent wife, Melanie. This novel is a complete and faultless blend of drama, love, slavery, war, and rivalry. Apart from receiving a Pulitzer Award for its flamboyant and conspicuous romantic storyline, it has also received an Oscar for its exceptional screenplay on the big screen. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Top 10. If you enjoyed, click subscribe and don't hesitate to join us again for another episode.